Welcome back to the channel. So it's been some time since I made some C8 content, but I'm back today and I'm going to be talking about what it's like to daily drive a C8 Corvette. Also, if you couldn't tell, it's been a little rainy in SoCal the last few days. It's been some kind of storm coming through from NorCal all the way down to SoCal, so it's been rainy. This has just been a little break in the rain, so I decided to film outside. I originally was going to try to film in a parking garage, but I prefer to film outside to get some fresh air, and it's just a little bit more private in this little parking lot that I found, so we're gonna get right into it. I do also have a sponsored product that I received. We're gonna get a little bit into that later on. So first thing is, this car does get a lot of attention. I know that's not really a point of focus for a lot of people talking about daily driving, but I do think it's something important to mention, because if you don't really like having attention when you drive, this car is definitely not going to particularly be the one for you, because I will say every time I drive it, no matter what, there's going to be stairs and stuff like that. One of the reasons being is because the car is very aggressive looking. The C8 is known for being the most exotic looking Corvette in the lineup, and I agree with that, especially in the front. From the side profile and the rear, I personally don't think it looks as much of a supercar, but the front for sure looks like a supercar. For people who aren't super familiar with cars, they may think it's like some kind of Ferrari, but yeah, the front end is one of the most eye-catching of the car, and it also depends on the color. I do have the Rapid Blue, which is one of the most eye-catching colors as well, so that obviously plays into it more. We can head to the rear just to see what it looks like, but personally, I don't think the rear has the supercar look. The rear looks more Corvette than the front for sure, but it still looks really nice. But yeah, one thing to keep in mind is you will be getting a lot of attention in this car, and if that's something you don't want, you may want to consider getting a different platform if you don't like attention. But that is going to be the first point that I want to make. The next thing is going to be the amount of space that it has. So this is the front. Not much space. It definitely can't carry luggage. It can only really carry like 1 or 2 grocery bags, honestly. So if you're thinking about getting this car for like a road trip, you're definitely gonna have to think twice, especially with it being a 2-seater. But let's go to the rear section. So the rear trunk, I already have stuff in there, so just kind of disregard that. But got some shoes, the OEM front lip. Honestly, there's not much space. This Corvette probably has the least, or this generation probably has one of the least amount of space for the rear trunk, mostly because the motor is right there. But yeah, I will say for daily driving purposes, the space that this car has is not very good. It is a sports car, so you have to factor that into play. But yes, for the space that this car has, it's not going to be the greatest. And we'll move on to the interior soon, but in there it's very, very tight in terms of space as well, because the glove compartment is not the biggest either, and then also the center console, it could fit about maybe like your registration. I don't know, not much more else than that, to be honest. You'll see when we get in there. Now we're in the interior. As you can tell, like I was saying before, it's just a 2-seater, but we're gonna go visit the glove compartment, which is the buttons right here. And yeah, as you can tell, not much space in here. It's not very deep or wide, so you're not going to be able to fit too much in there. I would say like your owner's manual, maybe like some tissues or something. I'm not even sure. But going to one of the more controversial parts of the interior is this little like center console area, which some people like, some people dislike. It does kind of eat up a lot of the space by cutting it in half, and it extends all the way back to the wireless charging and just like the speaker area. But yeah, I personally like it, but it is hard to kind of maneuver in the interior sometimes with that being there. But yes, this is basically all you can fit. The little pockets right there, they don't fit much either, so don't expect to have too many things in here. Can't fit too much in there, as you can tell. Sorry about the wires and stuff. That's my Apple CarPlay, and then also the charging. Do not expect too much space if you are going to be driving this daily or like multiple times a week. So this would be perfect for someone who doesn't bring too many things and just travels light. I am one of those people, so this actually works for me. So I switched over to the driver's side because I'm going to talk about two aspects that do affect the drivability of this car. One of them being the visibility. So I will say the visibility of the car is not the greatest. This does help a bit because there's a camera on the back of the backside of the car that does give you a pretty wide angle of what's behind you. So with conjunction with the side mirrors and then also this, it's not the worst, but there are instances, especially if you're taller, where you'll have a good amount of blind spots because of the fact that the motor's in the rear and it's taking up a lot of the space. That's mainly why they have this camera like rear view. But the visibility in this car, if you're like average to above average height / tall, is going to be kind of a factor, because depending on how you're sitting, it may create the blind spots or make it worse. But yeah, just something to consider. I'd say if you're in the market for this car, you definitely want to sit in it and drive in it for a little bit before you even make a decision. I will say the bucket seats are a little bit snug, you can see right here, but overall, for me at least, the car's been pretty much perfect. I don't have too many gripes with it. But the next part of the driving experience is going to be the MPG. I would say if you're driving city, you're probably gonna get like 16 miles per gallon, 16 to 18, which sounds really low, but it is a V8. And you know, city is the worst amount of MPG that you can get, so just factor that in. So it'd probably be 16 to 18 city. If you were to drive mixed, which is city and highway, it's probably gonna be like 20 to 23. And then when you're driving on the highway in like maybe 65 to 75 range, there's a lot of times where I'll see the car getting over 30 mpg. So if you drive a lot of highway, this car actually is really good on gas. I will say, if you drive mostly highway and you're just cruise controlling around 65 to 75, I can see you getting about maybe 30 to 34 mpg. So factor in all your driving style and like where you're mostly driving. You can get between, like, let's just average it between like 18 to 27. So yeah, it's a pretty good car on gas. I have had to fill up basically every 250 miles, or sometimes up to 280. So I forgot how big the tank is, but just keep in mind with my driving, it's around 250 miles to 280 miles where I have to fill up. So the last aspect I want to talk about for the daily driving of this car is the fact that you can remote start the car and from a pretty far range. I've done it from like outwards of like 20-30 feet, or like right next to it. But the cool thing about remote starting this car is it can basically warm up while you're walking up to it, which I personally do. I'm not sure how many people are particular about warming up their cars before they drive / like drive hard, but I love remote starting the car so that it can at least get the fluids running through the motor and just warm up. It's just so nice to be able to remote start the car, and that's actually my favorite aspect of daily driving a car, because I used to daily drive an E90 M3, which that car is notorious for taking forever to warm up. It literally takes like 15 to 20 minutes to be fully warm. This car, not so much. Probably takes like 5 minutes. I love remote starting the car, and it's just been a joy to daily drive, and we'll see how long I'll be daily driving it, but it's been a blast so far. So I mentioned a sponsored product in the beginning of the video, so it's going to be from Kustom Interior. They did send over some seat covers, and we're going to put them on the car now. I'm excited to see how it is, but shout out to them for partnering in this video. I'll have links to their products in the video description below. But yeah, let's go ahead and put this on the car and see how it looks. All right, so I took the first part out. I believe this is going to be the top half of the seat. So it's pretty heavy, so it feels really good quality. I like the blue stitching in there. I don't know if they picked blue because my car is blue, but let's go put it on and see how it looks. So I just put the Kustom Interior seat cover on, just to give you a comparison between stock and the cover. So on the passenger side, it's installed. You can tell it does conform pretty well to the seat, and it looks pretty good. It retains the stock like feel and look to it, but it does protect your interior just in case you don't want to deal with scratches or rips, and it also adds a little bit more flair to your interior. Just to give an example, this is what it looks like with the car's exterior color and the interior color of that. It is a little bit of a darker blue, but it could, depending on what color you get for the car interior cover, you can kind of add more flair to your build. Yeah, shout out to them. It looks pretty good and I'm excited to use it. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and there's more C8 content on the way.